insurance. And that's why he's here tonight, to tell you how good for you it is to be forced to save for your retirement. After all, you can't be left to decide such matters for yourselves. You're not bright enough. And politicians, as we know, are very bright. You might make mistakes. And government, as we know, never makes mistakes. You might be reckless with your own money. And government, as we know, is never reckless with your money. Now, Roger might find the comparison odious, but he's a Barack Obama on this issue. Barack Obama, I'm sure you know, railroaded through legislation making it compulsory for every American citizen to buy health insurance. This, in the land of the free, founded on each individual's inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. America, still riding the remnants of its founding philosophy, has just told him, via the midterm elections, to sod off. Republicans who campaigned on a platform of repealing Obamacare are now poised to do just that. And that is the point of my homily tonight. I'm not here to argue whether health insurance and retirement savings are good or bad things. I'm here to argue that these are decisions for you to make. Not Roger, not Barack Obama, not any politician. I'm not here to argue the toss about the size of the nest egg you'll be forced to lay under schemes approved by politicians you'll be forced to join. I'm here to argue against the force. Roger wrote a dedication to me in his 1993 book, Unfinished Business, which laid out the rest of his agenda, left in limbo by David Longey's breather and cup of tea. Just in case you think I'm making this up, there it is, the dedication. This is the book, and I recommend it highly. The dedication said, Lindsay, herewith stage 2. All we need is a political party to run with it. Roger. Now, I had already told him I couldn't be part of a party that proposed new forms of compulsion. Now, Roger thinks, you see, and he's about to say it, I can assure you, that compulsion is there already, which it is, and since it's there already, in the form of the taxes that sustain pensions, it's perfectly all right just to switch to a different type of compulsion. My belief is that it's not the form of the compulsion that is the issue. It's the compulsion itself. Let us argue among ourselves, by all means, about how fast we may realistically hope to dismantle existing forms of compulsion, but at minimum do not introduce new ones. Now, when he went ahead with his new party, ACT, initially the Association of Consumers and Taxpayers, I did not join it, and through the various megaphones then at my disposal, I routinely called it the Association of Compulsion Touters. And that remains the philosophical divide between us up until this very evening. Roger will tell you, don't take any notice of me, because I haven't persuaded anyone. No one takes any notice of me. My answer is, I don't care if I'm the only one in the world believing as I do. Though I know I'm not. There are at least 2 others I know of, and neither of them is my mother. Historian Arnold Toynbee observed, as human beings we are endowed with freedom of choice, and we cannot shuffle off our responsibility upon the shoulders of God or nature. We must shoulder it ourselves. It is our responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, compulsion is an affront to our status as human beings. We each have the right to live our lives as we choose, constrained only by the obligation to respect the right of others to do the same. Government exists solely to protect that right and enforce that obligation. In other words, to prevent, prosecute or punish our committing murder, rape, theft, etc. The ability to think and make choices is the essence of our humanity. Compulsion, including compulsory saving for retirement, is an assault on that essence. And I would urge you all to reject it resoundingly, so that we shall not merely avoid banana republic status, but become a fully civilized society, one in which we all live and let live, one in which all adult human interaction is voluntary. I leave you with two quotations and commend their content and spirit to you. Quote, "Mankind is at its best when it is most free. This will be clear if we grasp the principle of liberty. We must recall that the basic principle of liberty is freedom of choice, which saying many have on their lips, but few in their minds." Unquote. That was from Dante. And now this from John Steinbeck. Quote, "And this I believe, that the free exploring mind of the individual human is the most valuable thing in all the world. And this I would fight for, the freedom of the mind to take any direction it wishes, undirected. And this I must fight against. Any idea, religion, or government which limits or destroys the individual." End quote. Thank you. And on that note, let me introduce someone who probably agrees with about 9/10 of what I just said. My great honour to introduce Sir Roger Douglas.
Thank you, Lindsay. I love Lindsay, if only it was that simple. He's right. I do agree with most of what he had to say. But you also need to have a slightly practical element about you. And essentially you have to start with where New Zealand is. And presumably Lindsay is not going to have a pension scheme. We're not going to have the old age pension or the government superannuation. Are we going to wipe that tomorrow? Or are we going to actually do away with it over a period of time? Those are some of the questions you have to ask. Because we've had a system in New Zealand for something like 80 years now, and people have come to rely on it. And I actually agree with Lindsay. I think we've got to change. In fact, I'm going to tell you what I think we need to do. But the truth is that if you look at New Zealanders right now, about 20%, first of all, if you take the retired, about 80% of the retired rely primarily on their government super for their existence. So are we going to say, I used to say actually, my mother died a couple of years ago, but I say that, she was 93, but were you going to send her back to work at 90? I don't think so. And the point about it is that if you look at New Zealanders who are in the workforce or who are under 65, under the age, if you wound them up, as you might wind a company up, over 20% of them would actually have liabilities that exceeded their assets. And so if that